This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast revisiting television sci-fi, fantasy, and everything in between. This week, Hard Knuckle.
Agents, Harry. To play on these tables, you must have an agent. And see him? That's his agent. We don't deal with the queue, that's you. Agent deals with agent. Until then, you don't exist.
Works out, Harry. Agent puts up the money. If you win, you get a percentage. And as long as you got an agent, the more likely you are to hold on to your little pinkies. Because the only other way to earn any money in this room is on that table there.
I got my own money. No ifs and buts, Harry. The rules are that an agent can only have one player in his stable. He must have at least 2,000 in stake money, he must be Caucasian, and he must be male.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that flunked it. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
We gonna play pool or are we gonna piss around?
That was one of my favorite lines, for sure. Well, before we get into it, Jordan, did you know that this is both our 150th episode and it's being released on your favorite day of the year?
I knew the former. What is my favorite day of the year?
It's 420, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's my favorite. I got the munchies or whatever people always talk about.
Yeah, I think you sign off all your emails Snoochie Boochies.
That's right. That's me. You you have me nailed.
Oh, dear. This week, we are joined by a guest for this special episode. Taylor, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, as you know, TV sci-fi podcast. So we like to ask new guests what their interest level or history is with science fiction, or maybe more specifically, TV science fiction. Oh,
very slim, I would say. Pretty light on my end. I know about Tech War from The Simpsons.
That's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I bought all the DVDs just for the joke. But yeah, not a ton on my end. I was never really like a Star Trek guy or any of that really. Mostly Simpsons guy, and then so whatever filtered into the Simpsons, that's my
so you know about Planet of the Apes via the musical.
That's right.
And Leonard Nimoy with the monorail.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. Great.
That's all you need, really.
That's all I need. Yeah.
As long as you watch The Simpsons, you know enough about society to survive.
Pretty much.
Well, that's great because this one, I'm sure nobody in this Zoom call had heard of. Hard Knuckle.
No one in the world has ever heard of this movie.
It is a very weird one. Certainly, I think one of the weirder ones we've watched. It's an Australian TV movie, probably the first Australian thing we've watched.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely wondering if this was the normal caliber of the ones that you're picking, or if this one was crazier than usual.
I mean, in some ways it's par for the course, but in other ways it's off on its own special tangent.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'll give you a little history around it. It aired on the Nine Network in 1988, I assume an Australian television network.
Mm-hmm.
And it was part of a series of TV movies called Tomorrow's News.
I love that.
What?
I don't know what this had to do with the news, but I like the name of that series. And here's a little trivia for you both. One of the only films to feature the Australian pocket billiards game known as, provocatively, Devil's Pool.
Yeah, I looked that up. Did you find anything else about Devil's Pool? Because I couldn't find much about it.
Devil's Pool is completely the game where they put those dominoes or blockers on the table, and there's just basically obstacles on the table that apparently you either are supposed to not hit or you are supposed to hit, depending on the game you're playing.
And your conviction in the moment.
Yes, your conviction in the moment. I mean, Devil's Pool is going to come up a lot in this. Not that they ever name it at any point.
No.
And one last thing, because I love to do this for some reason. This premiered December 5th, 1988. So here was what was happening in Australia around the time this movie came out. Australia only edition. Here's something not interesting. The Olympic Dam, the world's largest uranium deposit and underground mine, opened. Ooh.
Finally.
I could have sworn that was more recent than that.
December 7th, actor Emily Browning of Limity Snicket's Unfortunate Events, Sucker Punch, and American Gods is born in Australia. Those are movies people have heard of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And finally, on December 15th, 10 days after Hard Knuckle, the feature film Young Einstein, written, directed, and starring Yahoo Serious, is released in Australian theaters.
Is that just for me? Yahoo Serious?
I don't know, dude. Are you a big Yahoo Serious fan?
I think I might be the only person who understands who that is.
I have no idea who that is, but what a name.
Back in the 90s when Australia was popular with Crocodile Dundee,
Right.
The
Australian invasion.
The Australian invasion, as you'll recall from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I believe this is a joke on The Simpsons as well. There was, for some reason, a comedian named Yahoo Serious who got like 2 or 3 movies that came out in the States, but that was as far as he went.
Gotcha. I'll have to check those out.
Check out Yahoo Serious, everyone.
And Luke, there's one thing you may not have seen. Did you see what the original title to this movie was?
I did not.
I don't know if we mentioned it. This is called Hard Knuckle, but the working title, I don't know how far they got with it, which I don't know how anyone can explain this. The original title Was There a Dream? Isn't that weird?
Was there a dream?
I don't know.
Not that I saw.
And I'll tell you, I know you're going to give us the synopsis for the movie, but here's the original synopsis I found as well. And tell me there might not have been some rewrites. Here's the original synopsis before you give the real one. A love story about a young boy who tries to get a pool player back on the tracks.
Love story, eh?
I know.
Interesting.
If there's maybe a whiff of a love story in this, but not really.
I mean, I guess that's expanding our traditional definition of love story.
I suppose.
All right. Well, here's the IMDb summary for Hard Knuckle. In the post-apocalyptic wasteland of Australia, the most popular sport is Hard Knuckle, a bloodier form of pool. Steve Beasley, bracket, Goose from Mad Max, end bracket, is Harry, a pool hustler who wants to beat Knuckle champion Top Dog to get his bike back.
You know what's funny? Through most of the movie, I didn't realize the point was he was trying to get his bike back. I didn't know what he was. I thought he was just trying to get some self-esteem back.
So I did my best to explain the synopsis to Hillary right after previous guest Hillary, right after I watched it, and it was next to impossible because I did read the IMDb synopsis after to try and determine what I had just watched, and it kind of helped. But then when I tried, it's like one of those things where it's like you learn it better if you teach someone.
Right.
So I was thinking maybe if I kind of talk through it, then I'd have a better idea. And we both sort of ended up more confused at the end of it.
I will say, usually when we watch these kind of things, because they're science fiction, there's usually too much exposition placed into one of these things. This movie goes the opposite direction. There is 0% exposition. The reasons anything is happening or has happened will remain forever unexplained.
Yeah. Well, it's not their concern. They want you to be in this world, and that's it.
For instance, I just told you in that summary, this takes place in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. If I didn't say that in that summary, you may never know this is science fiction.
Detroit.
Yeah, it does look just like sort of it takes place on sort of the outskirts of a town where things have not gone that well. There's not like too many signs that an apocalypse happened. Although I will mention, there is a helicopter that's just sticking out of a building.
That's true.
And what I picked up in the same shot of the helicopter is just George Orwell spray painted on the wall. So if it's just like you're not quite sure if it's post-apocalyptic, dystopian future,
Rest
really
assured.
nailed it right there.
Well, the movie opens on an epic guitar riff.
I thought this was great. I'll say for the first little bit of this movie, I was so in and so jazzed. It's this like bizarre music, and then this guy walking down the tracks, and you're like, what is happening? And then they push in to show that he's got a little chihuahua in his pocket. I was like, I am all aboard.
Yeah, what jumped out to me is the riff was very Jackass related. Sort of. You remember they're like,
Yeah.
Johnny Knoxville, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. This is kind of pulling me in, and didn't realize it was going to be repeated often throughout.
I think it's his theme.
Harry's theme. That's what it said
Yeah.
in the soundtrack notes.
Yeah.
Because Harry, dressed all in leather and sunglasses, with a earring that's a bunch of pool balls in a little rack on his ear.
That's a nice shorthand to let you know this guy likes pool.
I didn't notice that until a little further in the film, but that was definitely one of my notes as well. Cool earring.
Cool earring. Listen, I don't know my hair rockers as well as I do, but he just looked like someone from Aerosmith, right?
Yes.
It was of that time.
Anyway, he's returning to an unnamed, burnt-out post-apocalyptic city, complete with helicopter crash into building, as previously noted.
And that's by far the best looking, set sort of design that I think this movie has, because everything else is sort of like a room you'd see from Xena.
It could be anywhere. I was wondering, what movie was that helicopter supposed to be in? Or what set was this from that they borrowed?
I had the exact same thought. I was like, when was the last Mad Max filmed? At any rate, we're basically meeting a professional pool player named Harry, and he's returning to this unnamed city after getting sober. I guess we're learning off the beginning here. He used to be a raging alcoholic.
Yeah.
The aggressive cup spin. None for me.
None for me. As he tells his old friend, a barkeep named Max, and the boy who pedals his bicycle generator that powers the TV, a kid named Eddie, he's basically explaining this backstory of like, I'm back, I'm sober, and I'm here to avenge my humiliation that made me leave town of losing my motorcycle, complete with cool sidecar, in a game of pool to a man named Top Dog.
And I don't know if you looked it up, but Top Dog is not 2 words. It's Top Dog. That's his name. It's 1 word.
Also, Top Dog, writer of the film.
Oh, is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gary Day? Is that his name?
Gary Day.
Gary Day.
The beginning of what was to be surely a great trilogy, I'm sure. At any rate, basically as he's explaining this to these people and the audience, essentially, across the street, Top Dog pulls up on that motorcycle, and he is looking to me, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I kept thinking of him either as 90s Bill Paxton or 80s Dan Aykroyd.
I had him pinned as Paul F. Tompkins the entire time.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
Yeah, he does have that sort of, his hairstyle is almost like a 1940s sort of slicked kind of hairdo part in the middle, and then he's got a nice little handsome mustache.
Speaking of hair, there was, I don't know why, but there was an immense amount of hair fixing throughout this movie. So he'll like show up on the motorcycle, he's like, and they're like all concerned about like Harry as well. He's always just like flicking his hair around. I was like, this is post-apocalypse. Why are you guys so concerned? You're wearing these like dead skins and they're so concerned about their hair.
This movie's very hair-centric in a lot of ways. We'll meet another character later who's completely bald except for a tuft on the right side of his head above his ear.
That was amazing. This actor, I love that he was all game for it. They're like, we're going to shave your head, but we're going to leave a little bit. He's like, on the top? They're like, no. On the side?
Maybe.
Well, kind of.
It is the hair department on this really went crazy. They're like, it's the future. Hair can be anything.
Well, you know what? If you think about it, though, it's a lot cheaper to give someone some crazy hair than it is to spend a lot of money on costumes. Because the costumes in this they could have been from any kind of movie. They're just like robes tossed on top of robes with like an animal pelt. So they're not terribly distinct. But then you get hair that's just insane. And it's like, all right, I guess it's a weird time now.
Yeah, hair or hat.
Yeah.
Hair or hat. Very true. Top Dog is the top pool player around, as his name would suggest. But there is this side thing happening repeatedly throughout the movie that I could not make heads or tails of. But there are a bunch of little street urchins who live on the streets, just little children. And one of them just really wants to keep spitballing Top Dog every about 10 minutes of this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really took the wind out of the sails of him being Top Dog for me right away. When the little urchin just spitballs him and he's just like...
Yeah, it doesn't do
Not
anything
again.
about it.
He's like a real Principal Skinner energy, where he's just like, well, you again.
That's a good description of his energy. At any rate, that'll happen throughout the film. I don't know why. It's completely apropos to nothing, but important part of his character. Street urchins hate him. Harry leaves the bar and heads across the street to this the local post-apocalyptic pool hall, because he wants to get his bike back. That's what he's come for. And as he comes in, we actually get to see some random fella, and he's playing a game on the, as they call it, the knuckle table. So we'll finally get to see what this Hard Knuckle is all about.
Yeah.
How would you describe Hard Knuckle, the game?
It was pretty wild. I mean, I did you could kind of figure out a logic in it where it's just like everyone kind of, he hits the domino dealy, and it's like, okay, you've made a huge mistake. And then there's real like hook energy with the booby box where they're kind of like grabbing him and he's fighting, and then basically a cigar cutter comes out at the end of the table and just chops this guy's finger off. And like, it's the most normal thing in the world, and they're all like, oh, that's the cost of doing business.
That is essentially, yes, what this game is. This, you could play on this one table, and they'll put a black domino in the center, and you still have to sink all the pool balls, I guess per the rules of a normal pool game. But if you knock over that domino, they're chopping off one fingy. You're going to lose it.
There is one extra thing on this, though. I don't know if you guys noticed. Every pool ball is the number 17.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I noticed there were letters in the...
They're both. They're the number 17, and then they have weird symbols on them on the other end. But because it's this movie, they did not explain it at all. Why? They just don't explain it. Like, yeah, it's just the future. That's why.
Bizarre.
I did notice one time when they take out, sometimes it seems like they have numbers on them, but you're right, there are letters. And one time they took out the entire rack of pool balls, and what it was ace, king, queen, jack, 10 on the pool balls, but in 4 different colors. And I was like, I don't know what this game is now.
Yeah, these are regional ball selections.
Absolutely.
It's interesting because this is like what the crux of the movie is. This is supposed to be there's going to be a big showdown at the end of, this is the hustler, or this is whatever. But it's weird because at all times they build it up, and then it's almost like they take the wind out of their own sails. They're just like, you're not going to believe what this game is. And then they treat it like the most ordinary thing ever. They're like, someone's going to get their finger cut off, but then everyone responds to it as if it's like Tuesday, I guess. Like, getting a finger taken off, you would think would be horrific, and they talk about it like it is, but then you see someone get their finger taken off, they're like, anyways, I guess I'll have a drink.
And they keep playing.
Yeah, they keep playing.
That was apparent. I think that might have been in the synopsis, where it was like, you get the opportunity to continue playing if able.
If able. Yes, that is it. This man we watched play Hard Knuckle the first time, he loses a finger, but they allow him to keep going. He eventually sinks all of his balls and gets whatever. His prize is just a sack hanging over the table. Who knows what's inside?
I mean, if you want to talk about whatever this currency is, I'm pretty sure it's just birth control pills.
It's weird.
That's a good question, because basically what happens now is Harry basically approaches Top Dog in the pool hall and challenges him basically to a game of pool to win back his motorcycle. But he has money, so he won't have to play for fingers. So you don't have to play for fingers if you have money. But as you mentioned, money is pills, apparently.
In blister packs.
Yeah, just these blister packs of what appears to be birth control, but then some of them are like diagonal cut, so that's like $5 or something. And then the full sheet is like Primo. And they all seem to, the shorthand of these, everyone's already bought into this as a currency. We're just like flicking them around. He's like, oh, yeah, okay, you're paid.
Well, they never refer to them as pills. They're always dollar amounts. They're like, here's $2,000. And they just hand over a handful of pills. And you're like,
exactly.
Okay.
And they just know right away. Okay, yeah, you're good.
I will say, as we said, no exposition in this movie. So it's hard to know what exactly they meant by these pills as currency. But really quickly off the top, Harry tells the bartender he looks a little yellow and offers him a pill. So my best guess is these are anti-radiation pills that in this future, maybe nuclear explosions, so everyone is surviving, but also using radiation pills as currency? My best guess.
Yeah.
That's more thought than I put into it. I was just like, pills, how about that? Anyway.
At any rate, Harry's back. He wants to play for his motorbike, but not for fingers, just for money. But he's told by the new owner of this pool hall. There's this wild part where they're like, where's the owner? It's like, I'm the new owner. Where's the old owner? He's over there sleeping on the floor. And I'm like, is this important? No.
Oh, can I mention one thing, though, Luke? I don't know if you guys noticed. In the background, I can't remember if it's prominently featured or not, but in the background, as a bit of filling the world in, there's a picture, I'm assuming, of Better Days, and it's Harry and I believe it was Top Dog, right? And they're both wearing tuxedos and like have martinis and they're like cheersing, and you're like, oh, they must have been friends at some point.
I did see that, and I was wondering, like, how quickly did this all fall apart, this world? Like, they don't look... Obviously, the picture in real life was taken not too far before them actually making this film, and they look the exact same, but just, cleaned up as, like, kind of like tuxedo bartenders or something. And it just made, again, raised more questions as to what happened, how fast did this world where everyone just wears pelts develop, and they're just, like, into it.
Harry lost his motorcycle and left to get sober before the apocalypse, and now he's just come back to deal with it. The apocalypse happened in between.
I think he left on a Friday, and stuff happened on Saturday, Sunday. This is Monday now.
That was another question I had. The time frame of some of this was interesting. It was sort of elastic in terms of character motivations and like very strong will of certain attitudes that were then completely reversed what seemed like hours later.
We'll get back to the pool hall really quickly. Harry wants to play for his motorcycle back. The new owner tells him, you're not allowed to play just money ball anymore. If you want to play knuckleball, you can for free. But if you want to play for money, you're going to need to get yourself an agent. We have a new agent system in place. You can only have an agent to play pool now.
That might be my favorite part of the movie.
It legitimizes it.
And then they lay a very, very weird set of rules around how an agent can operate.
Yes, that also jumped out to me.
It was, the agent must have a $2,000 stake. They can only have one player in their stable, which is bad business. And you must be white and male. I'm like, oof.
Didn't age too well.
So Harry can't play because he has $2,000 worth of pills, but he doesn't have an agent. Thankfully, that kid who rides the pedal generator next door followed him to the pool hall, and the kid Eddie is just like, I'll be your agent. And they're like, great, I guess this problem is solved. Please give me one game with Top Dog now. And they're like, not so fast. You have to work your way up to Top Dog. Wait till Pedals gets here.
You missed the negotiation, though, because Eddie comes in, he's like, I'll be your agent. I'll take 80%. And then Harry goes, no, 50. And he goes, no. And then he goes, 10%. And then Eddie's like, all right. I'm like, whoa, Eddie, you're a terrible negotiator. You just went from 80 to 10%. And he's happy with it.
Yeah, he hustled him pretty good. Especially getting an agent in like 10 seconds that he needed direly.
Yeah. But you know what I like, though? At this point, you assume in the movie, it's going to be like one of those movies I'm sure everyone's seen. Like, it actually, at this point, I was like, oh, this is going to be like that Sylvester Stallone movie, Over the Top, where half the movie is just him arm wrestling people one after another. You know, I thought it was going to be that, which is he's going to...
Yeah, you got to get to the top.
Yeah, he's going to get to the top. He's going to slowly work his way through and at the same time learn something about himself. And I think the movie was kind of going that direction. And then they went, you know what? No, let's just do something else.
Yeah, I was expecting like training montage.
Yeah, exactly.
Running up the steps, and then beating like there being like a samurai pool hall, and then like a Wild West pool hall, and then couldn't have been more.
This is a great movie you're pitching here, Taylor. Great movie.
Hard Knuckle 2.
Also, do you think it's weird that Eddie has to pedal that bike, but the other guy's nickname is Pedals? Do you think he's like, come on, guys, that's clearly my thing?
Well, this player who does show up Pedals, he's called that for the simple reason I guess he rides a bike to the pool hall.
Yeah.
That was a great reveal.
Otherwise, very nice man.
Yeah, he seemed to have a heart of gold.
And he and Harry get into that first pool match. We get a whole pool montage where we get to watch him sink every single ball on the table.
They love doing that.
Now we know that Harry's good. That's what we have to know. Like, he's back. He's the guy to be.
Pedals was the sacrificial lamb to establish
poor
Harry
Pedals
as bring in Pedals.
To be fair, he was probably exhausted from pedaling all the way there.
Yeah, he's the tomato can. If someone needs to they still got it, bring in Pedals. He gets just wiped on the floor, and then now you can continue your journey.
Yes, Harry easily beats him and turns around and says, all right, can I now play Top Dog? And they're like, let's wait till 11 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yeah, he's not even warmed up. He's been stealing sunglasses.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he stole that pair of sunglasses for some reason.
And I thought, were they Harry's sunglasses? No.
It's interesting because I think they're trying to establish him as this big bad villain, but I don't think, and maybe you guys disagree with me, I don't think any viewer watching that would really understand who his character is, because he kind of sits in the corner with his sunglasses on and kind of is maybe being smarmy, but also maybe not. And they didn't really establish him at all. So when you know there's going to be some sort of turn later, it doesn't feel earned at all.
No, the bad guy for me was definitely like the pool hall owner, the guy that made such a big deal about the agents and whatnot. But yeah, Top Dog seemed just kind of like over it almost. You're just like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm the top dog. Like, whatever. why are you making this like such a big deal? Like, I'll play the guy, I guess.
He was destined to be the top guy though, because his parents named him Top Dog.
Yeah, that's nominal determination.
Mm-hmm. At any rate, the pool game is postponed till tomorrow morning. So Harry leaves the pool hall and is promptly mugged and robbed by Top Dog's pool agent and some goons.
Yeah, you knew the street urchins were coming.
So I guess basically what this means is now Harry does not have the $2,000 worth of pills to compete the next day. But thankfully, he gave his agent, Kid Eddie, that 10% he earned. So Eddie still has $100.
Yep.
And they devise a plan to turn that $100 into $2,000. And this plan is really elaborate. This is the most elaborate ploy of the movie, I think. Because when they said, like, let's just go and we're going to turn this into $2,000, we'll just play more pool. I'm like, all right, so they're back on the game where they're just going to play a bunch of pool games. But instead, Eddie goes into the pool hall where Top Dog and the pool hall owner are playing poker now. And Kid Eddie challenges Top Dog to a game with Harry. He's like, Saturday, 8 p.m., be there. And then he slams a cream pie into his face.
I loved it. If there's one thing that tells someone it's on, is to slam a cream pie in their face.
Yeah, and the way... I think the delivery of that bothered me. It was like, and here's another message. And it's the cream pie. It's like, this wasn't a message. He didn't write down brackets, cream pie,
I think what it was Eddie was walking through and he had direct orders of what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to say 8 o'clock. And while he walked by, he saw there was a freshly baked cream pie on the counter. And he thought, you know what?
Off script.
I could improvise here a little bit. Add to this.
What's interesting, though, is it's not even the end of this, because the cream pie is part of a much more elaborate plan. Because once Top Dog is cream pied, Eddie runs out of the building and Top Dog chases after him. Top Dog trips over a trip rope that has been placed across the door, knocking himself unconscious outside. Eddie then locks the pool hall door so his cronies can't get out to help him. And then Harry seems to solve his major issue of this movie. He just steals the keys to his motorcycle, and he has his motorcycle back.
Yeah.
The Home Alone tripwire.
Yes.
There was a whole little montage of like cream pie, the fuse has been lit, and then there's little tripwire, they're locking the doors. That I liked.
Well, and then they get the motorcycle back, and you think, I guess they're just stealing it? But no, they need the motorcycle for 2 reasons. 1, to get out of town to earn money, but 2, they're going to use it to string Top Dog up hanging from that motorcycle with a big sign around his chest that says Saturday, 8 p.m.
Yeah, complicated system of levers and pulleys.
Did either of you think, like, because obviously it's sort of like a little bit of, like you were saying, a Home Alone-esque kind of comedy, but they string him up, and then you go back to that scene like 10 more times where he's hanging up. They're like, we can't get him down. And then we go to see Harry back. Then we come back and like, still can't get him down. And I was like, guys, is this what we're spending time on? And it's like, maybe we can use a crowbar. Oh, I don't know, maybe pliers. And they just keep going back to him hanging there. And I was like, is that what he's going to do for the rest of the movie? He's just going to hang from this helicopter?
It was pretty bizarre. Where he was it was the side Mohawk man charged with trying to get him down, and that guy's character became increasingly unhinged.
Yeah,
I found, and this was his real demise, where he was kind of just like a bumbling oaf guy, where he's like, "Oh, pliers work? Pliers no work." It's like, let's get fire. I'm like, what happened to this guy?
It is funny you mention that, because he does go through like, there's like 3 different characters he plays. At the beginning, when you meet him, he's sort of like this nefarious sort of money launderer kind of guy, and you're like, oh, he's
Top Dog's agent.
Yeah, like he seems to be making moves.
Yeah, in this helicopter scene, he's sort of like a bumbling buffoon, and then at the end of the movie, he's like a junkie.
Yeah, he's like this sniveling guy. He's like, oh, gotta get money. What happened to you, man? The last like 12 hours.
I think it's more of an interesting movie to see his journey.
100%.
But yes, as you mentioned, we're going to see him get cut down for like 17 scenes. But while that's happening, Harry and Eddie are on the road, and they're going to stop to spend the night at Eddie's mom's place, which is an old abandoned church, maybe?
She loves candles.
Yeah, real Home Sense mom vibes. Post-apocalyptic style.
And the visit to Eddie's mom seems so random because he's just like, this is my mom. And Harry's like, oh, I know her. I used to date her 13 years ago. And then they revive an old fight they had 13 years ago.
Well, right away, she's like, don't worry. It's not yours. It's like, what?
Yeah, I know. That was weird too, right?
That concern didn't track to me. So, okay. And I don't think it did to Harry either.
I was like, this boy is like 18 years old, so of course he's not yours.
Yeah, got it.
Can we stop and talk about Eddie for a minute? To be fair to this kid, I don't know if he's the greatest actor of all time, but someone told him every line, just yell it. Every line he's yelling is like, I want to go too! I'm like,
Yeah.
Eddie, calm down. Like, you just met this guy and he's only giving you 10%. He's not that good a guy.
Yeah, and here's another message. Cream pie. Like even his cream pie was loud. He's just, Brah!
Well, then that means, Jordan, you really side with the mother in this scenario because Harry, who hasn't seen this woman in 13 years and just met this kid, is just berating her for her child-rearing method. He's just like really leading into her like she's the worst mother in the world. But I don't know if I'd want Eddie around the house either.
I don't know if they explicitly go into it, but I think you're left to believe that what ruined the relationship was his drinking, right? So he's kind of at fault.
I don't know if you noticed that she had like King Tut's head in her house, like just like a sarcophagus. So then that let my mind go into like, what is happening in this world? Where is this? That belongs in a museum. Why does she have it?
She's a tomb raider when she's not at her
Yeah,
house.
like that's the movie I need to see.
At any rate, after they spend the night there for a very long time, they head off to their next stop, which is they're going to stop at a country pool hall, and Harry's got a plan to hustle some townies out of their pills/money.
All-time plan.
And by the way, this scene is taken straight out of The Hustler. I was like, oh, okay, so you guys are just taking stuff from another movie now. Sure, all right.
Taylor, you want to walk us through their hustle?
Oh my goodness. Right off the bat, Harry refuses to share his plans with his agent, and I'm not quite sure why. Like, I guess maybe he didn't know if he would be on board with hustling these people, but that, right off the bat, I was confused and somewhat angered that he wasn't letting him in. Like, this should have been a team effort. But yeah, he rolls in, and he's playing the, like, Kaiser Soze, but drunk style, where he's just, like, taking comical Jack Sparrow swigs from his clear liquid of unknown providence, and he's just crushing. He's like, what is this pool? I've never seen pool before. And there's a lot of weird banter. This is sort of it was almost like a Shire-esque pool hall where they're cooking up some like meat pies.
That's true. Yeah, they had a weird kitchen.
They don't even really seem interested in pool. They're more interested in the pie making aspect of this establishment. And I also noticed, kind of showcased how in this world there's going to be better and worse pool tables. Like some of the table's quality itself seemed a little rough. There was like some tears and stuff. So we're going to see the highs and lows driven by the quality of the felt. But yeah, it comes in, he's doing the, I can't see the ball, the classic routine, and they're like, but I did like that he didn't go, so he's trying to get their pills, but he didn't get greedy initially. He was doing the, I'll do like 10, whatever $10 or 10 pills is, and is willing to sucker them in with that, and they're like, this guy's a fool. And then, yeah, he just cleans toast. So like, this guy's like pulling out under pies. He's like, I'll take everything, and then just takes them for all they're worth.
It is true. Once he lures them into a sense of that he's going to fail this shot, they really throw all of them are reaching in their pockets, just hucking money onto the table. Like, I want in on this.
The shot also, to me, seemed extremely low stakes. it wasn't like some sort of cool trick shot where he's like sinking all the balls, or this is a match that has gone. Like I thought at the very least, what I did think he was gonna play the kid, lets the kid beat him, and then there's some top dog of this place where he then like rolls for all the bragging rights and the money.
What you'd assume a hustle would be.
100%. What the shot for the hustle seemed to just be like two balls along the bumper, and then one guy pipes out at another like, oh no, I think the cue ball was over here, and then moves it like an inch to the side. And then he still sinks it. Another thing with that shot, which did bug me throughout the entire movie, was there was no hopping of the cue ball. I feel like that was a giant missed opportunity.
That is true. They never did that classic shot.
I thought for sure with the domino, at least at some point where someone's like really close to hitting it and hops it over, there was a lot of like slow. They really liked to draw out each shot to a point where it's like he sunk the 8 ball, sunk the 7 or the H ball or whatever it was. Especially in the pedals match, that went pretty long. But yeah, with the close-in shots and slow-mo, it was ripe for jumping the cue ball, and it never happened.
It's interesting, though, that you mention all the shots they did of playing the different games, because it's something where this movie really fails at is, you watch some movies, let's say it's a movie about cards or it's a movie about pool or something that maybe you're not that interested. A good movie brings you into that and you feel excited about it. What was that Netflix show that just came out about chess and everyone got excited about chess, right? It's like, because there's something evocative about it. It's the way it's presented. This movie does not do that at all. What you would think would be the most exciting action scenes, the pool scenes, are probably the most boring part of the movie. The best part of the movie is where you're like, what is happening? Why is he running around? Why is someone putting cream pie in someone's face? Whereas the pool action, you're like, let's just get through this montage that's not interesting.
100%. Couldn't agree more. The scoring in terms of like how you win a match as established in the pedals match couldn't have been less clear. It's up to, what is it up to?
I assume it's stripes and solids. I have no idea.
Yeah, is it best of 1? Is it best of 5? There's no establishment of stakes really, except for chopping off the finger, which wasn't part of the stakes for the pedals match. So this is just two guys playing. And then it's just, a montage of what seemed to be very casual pool shots, and then a handshake just like, sorry, pedals, got you again. He's like, it's all right. Everyone beats me.
That's what he's here for. At any rate, they finish hustling these small-town yokels out of their pills, and now it's time to head off to win some big money so they can finally get that $2,000. But while all this has been happening, Top Dog has finally got down off that helicopter, and he's sworn to kill Harry for humiliating him. And what's really weird here is I'm just like, all right, sure, this guy wants to kill this other guy. He's mad at him. But the owner of the pool hall is just like, you can't. We've got a big match on Saturday now. The whole town's coming out. You can't. You got to wait. Play this match with him. My margins need it. You can't do it.
I think this is the part of the movie for me. Not that it was great to this point, but I think this is kind of the moment where the movie starts to fall apart into insanity, because it's almost as if they were like, let's just do a different movie where I don't understand what anyone is doing, and let's make sure the audience feels that way too.
Yep, because Top Dog won't listen. He's like, I'm leaving. I'm going to kill this man. He hops on a train because I guess in this future post-apocalyptic world, the trains are still running quite well, actually. They seem very nice passenger trains. You can get anywhere in Australia on them.
That I had a lot of questions. Like the priorities of this world, where they're like checking train tickets. I was just like, what the hell is going on here? You guys have way too many rules for a post-apocalyptic anarchy.
It's true. It does feel like things are very well. Everything's falling down, but the wheels are still turning. Yeah. Everything's and this never comes up at all, but there was just like these two really weird scenes where Top Dog has to sit by an annoying guy on the train, and we just have to watch him talk to this annoying guy who just wants to play a game of cards with him.
But then he comes back.
Does he? Did I miss him coming back?
Oh, dude, he's the owner of the next establishment.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah, because I understand your confusion though, Luke, because again, it's hard to articulate to someone who hasn't seen this how confusing this movie gets at this point. But yes, there's like 2 or 3 scenes where until later you don't understand what the payoff's going to be, but this guy keeps wanting to play cards with Top Dog, and Top Dog, for no real reason, is being really mean to the guy. Like, he's not even being like, oh no, like just polite about saying no. He's mean for no reason. And also, to this point in the movie, meaner than we've seen him be to anybody. He seems like, I think you mentioned Taylor, he seems sort of like above it all most of this movie. And then this scene, he's like, I hate you. I hate cards.
Very bizarre.
And the whole point is that later on, this guy's going to come back and be the owner of the establishment so that he can now take his revenge back out on Top Dog.
And this way I don't understand is he's very rude to him and won't play cards. And then we cut back and he's like, okay, I'll play a game of cards now. But we never see what happened. Like, I was just like, why am I watching any of this? But I guess it's to establish this character for later.
I also believe he's somehow like the train owner.
He might be. I don't know.
because later, no spoilers, later when they're trying to get back on the train, he seems to be the guy that's like controlling who's getting on and off.
Oh, see, like, I thought it was more that like he's kind of like a mafia head and he sort of had his goons out watching the train. That's what I thought, but maybe you're right.Maybe he actually owns the train too.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, Top Dog has made a powerful enemy.
Yes, he has.
Well, there's a lesson, I should say. If you're on a train and someone says, do you want to play cards? Just say yes. Because you don't know who this person might be. He might be a possible owner of the train and or a mafia head and or a guy who owns a pool club that will chop your fingers off.
Another moment, I think, during the same train ride is when he sees Harry and the boy off the train, and then there's just like he just laughs.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it was because they were all in cahoots together. There was going to be some sort of like big plan they were doing, but he just sees them off the road. He's like, "Hi, look at them. They don't have a train ticket, losers."
Fools. And just never like cut.
They all arrive at the next town to Top Dog by train, Harry and Eddie by motorcycle, by stolen motorcycle and sidecar. They all arrive at this next town, and they all head off to the newest, weirdest pool hall we'll visit in this town. And the first thing we get to see is there are some, initially what I thought was erotic dancers, but then as I watched the show, I decided it was just modern dance. Like, this was just a modern dance performance that was being put on.
Depends on what you're into.
It looks at first like it's going to be a stripper, but I don't know if you noticed, there's nice gender equality here because it's the woman dancing, and then she starts dancing with someone in, I think it was like head to toe costume that's unclear, they're animal pelts or something, but as the dance continues, because we watch it forever, the person takes the clothing off and we see it's a man. So there's a man and a woman both maybe stripping, maybe dancing, but either way it's very entertaining to the audience.
Incredibly confusing scene for me.
The post-apocalyptic people they're big arts lovers. They love some modern dance. They want to see what's fresh and hot in the dance scene. They keep it behind that chain link fence, and when the dance is over, it just slams shut.
Yeah, I was so confused. There's just it's very hard to articulate how this scene was like edited and sliced together, but there was like weird clips of like a cattle prod going through.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was
yeah, they were spraying her down with something too.
Yeah, like granted, with the like resolution of the video, it was kind of hard to determine what it was going on anyways. But yeah, there was like a cattle prod, and I was like, is this some sort of like a against their will type scenario? But then they're all like clapping after.
I love it because everything in this movie is sort of half-assed, and it's like they just expect the audience to fill in all the gaps. They're like, yeah, there's dancers 100%. And they may get prodded. Why? I don't know. Don't worry about it. It's a weird world. Yeah, figure it out yourself. We don't have time for it.
I noticed a lot of applause in this movie as well. Like when it's like, oh, what's that? They're playing at the pool hall, and it's just like a polite applause, like very polite post-apocalyptic urchin men.
This pool hall also sells chickens and rats in cages for some reason.
That's right.
This pool has a lot going on at it between the dancing, the pool, and the sale of live rats. At any rate, Eddie and Harry turn up here, and they're basically going to turn all the pills they hustled into this $2,000, and they're just waiting for the pool game to start. Fanciest pool table in the movie so far. This is the nicest one, right, Taylor?
I was really digging it. It had like the lights flashing, and They seemed to play sort of a different style. It was kind of like a round robin. They're like, yeah, 6 people. I'm like, why not? It's the future. Sign up.
It is true. It is crazy. They meet some guy named Kevin, who's apparently Harry's friend, who will just hang out with them for the rest of the movie. But I'm like, why is this guy now in the movie?
Bizarre entrance.
He's just a nice dude.
Well, I think they had to establish a man who the knuckle didn't work out for him.
Oh, that's true. He's lost a finger.
Because he comes from his past, and he's just like, check it out. And speaking of showing the no knuckle, jumping back to when Harry shows back up to the bar, and he's meeting his friend, the bartender, after all this time, and the bartender just, show me your hands. Show me your hands. So mad at him. Viewer has no idea what's going on, and only in hindsight does it make sense that he wants to see if he's bet away his finger or not. But huge missed opportunity, because he starts slowly revealing 1, 2, 1, and he could have just gone like middle finger for the and I was just waiting for it, and no delivery.
Listen, I really love the movie you've written, Taylor. I'm gonna find some financing for it. I love this new knuckleball.
I'll find Gary Day.
We'll find Gary Day. We'll bring him back. At any rate, you had mentioned this. This pool hall, at some point in the night, they announce it's time to play pool. We'll only allow 6 players to play a night in some sort of round robin game. And I was just like, the rules around pool in this world, like, people love it so much they really have to dole it out.
Did you notice, though, I don't know if we mentioned this previously, that for whatever reason when they do the score, like, they do it like, 4 and then they check it off. But instead of writing people's names, they drew little pictures.
Yep. And they drew a dog for Harry.
Yeah.
Against Petals, which was a bicycle. But I was like, dog should be reserved for Top Dog. Like, just because he showed up with a chihuahua, you can't just be drawing a dog.
I think he's kind of put on the spot, though, and he has to have a couple of pictures. He's like, oh, he's wearing a pelt. He's a dog.
Yeah.
Done.
Animal.
Yeah. What he should have done is a picture of earrings that were pool balls. Everyone would have known who it was.
Yeah, there you go.
That's true. This defining feature. At any rate, we get a montage now where I guess Harry plays either 6 people in round robin or 6 people in a row. It's impossible to say. I guess he beats them all because that's apparently how it ends.
Incredibly unclear. And the agent was so concerned trying to set up like stakes at the start where he's like, Mr. Harry, you'll never play. You won't find time on the table. And then it's a montage of him, only Harry, playing on this table against like what's seemingly the entire bar.
Let me mention it again. He already has the bike, and now he is winning his money back, and apparently can go win money. They said at the beginning of the movie, this is the only place you really can play pool, but then he clearly can go many places and play pool. It's like, you've already won. Why not just go around, play pool, and make your money? But I guess it's because...
It's for honor.
It's for his honor, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, who cares? Top Dog doesn't even want to play. He's not even around. He's on the train laughing at people. Just go home.
The motivation was a fallacy from the start. So it was built on a questionable foundation, and it went haywire as he drove the bike across the lands.
After Harry sort of beats all these players, this is when Top Dog decides to reveal he's been at the pool hall the whole time, watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he basically is just like, I challenge you to a game of pool right now and not wait until Saturday. And I was just like, I thought you were going to kill him. You just want to play pool with him?
How did he know that he was going there, too?
I have no idea. But as you said, this pool hall is owned by the man he was rude to on the train. And now that makes more sense to me because that man just appears out of nowhere and says, you're not allowed to play pool here. I don't like you.
Yeah, and a fight ensues.
Yeah, meanie.
Well, what I like is he yells that. I'm like, okay. And then someone from the audience somewhere yells, whatever happened to the customer's always right. And the pool owner's just like, you got me there.
That's good.
They're extremely polite, all these people.
And the pool owner's like, fine, you two can play, but only if it's for fingers. And Harry's just like, no thank you. And he just walks away. And the pool owner's like, okay, well, if he won't play, let's cut off your nose in the finger cutter, Top Dog. Let's grab Top Dog and cut off his nose.
And Harry's agent is so concerned about him being laughed at.
Yeah, that's right. He's just like, if you leave now, they're going to laugh at you. I'm like, I don't think they are.
They're all laughing at you. They're all laughing at you. You gotta play. It's like, I'm playing. It's my finger. It's not your finger.
It was very weird. That's right. Eddie was very concerned about him being a laughingstock. But it just seemed to me like Top Dog was the one in the losing position there.
Absolutely.
At any rate, due to some cajoling from this new character, Kevin, Harry's like, fine, I will go back into the pool hall and I will rescue Top Dog for some reason. And we will escape back to Kevin's garage/home, where Harry and Top Dog will proceed to have a wrestling match.
They have to get out that anger from the past years when they used to be friends and they wore tuxedos.
Truly bizarre scene with Eddie wagering that he can break up the fight.
So, like King Kong and Godzilla, they just kind of like grapple with each other for a bit. And then, I don't understand this either, but you just mentioned it, Taylor. For some reason, Eddie announces to Kevin, I bet you $10 I can make them stop fighting. And then he grabs a crowbar and just yells, stop fighting. And they stop.
Yeah, and then Kevin's like, you were right. You won that money fair and square.
Yeah, like, that was truly baffling that he was like, that Kevin was so sold on it. It's like, oh my God, yes. How could you possibly stop this insane fight and then couldn't have been stopped more quickly or easily?
But essentially, these moments with Top Dog and Harry together are basically, they're going to establish these two used to be friends per their champagne drinking picture. And it's going to come out around this time that Top Dog didn't know his agent mugged Harry for that $2,000 early in the movie. And Top Dog, I guess like Harry, they're both very honorable men, so he's quite offended to find out his agent was involved in such nefarious deeds.
But doesn't it seem weird, though, that they spend so much time, it's not that much time, but that they go out of their way to really show that Top Dog's not a bad guy? Because what does it matter? Like, he's supposed to be the big villain that you're supposed to take down at the end, but they're like, he's not that bad because the other guy is really the bad guy, and it just seems like they're undercutting the final match. Because don't you want Harry to beat the big bad guy at the end? But then they're like, he's not that bad.
Yeah, I never really thought he was that bad.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, shouldn't he be?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me because if you're the writer of that film, you're like, I want it both ways.
And he delivered.
And he delivered. He wrote the movie. He gets to do whatever he wants. This leads into basically they're like, all right, great. Let's head back to town for our big 8 p.m. match on Saturday. We're getting along slightly better than we were before. There's that super long, complicated sequence where they have to sneak Top Dog onto the train to come home that we sort of mentioned before. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
I didn't Kevin is in disguise, and then they stop the train halfway to town, and then Top Dog gets on, and then Kevin hides in a toilet, and I was just like, I don't know what's happening.
Well, he had to share the ticket because he knew that 30 seconds after Top Dog hops on is when the train ticket man's going to come by and be like, show me your ticket. And then the viewer's going to be like, oh my God, Top Dog does not have a ticket. But then he does.
But it's so funny that they take the time to do that because it doesn't really matter. You could have just been like, yeah, Top Dog made it to the next town. We don't need to see it, how he got there. I'm sure there's other ways. So it's like, why are we watching this very complicated caper of him getting a ticket to the train? Who cares?
Because Kevin needed the payoff. He's like, no, none of us are walking to town. I got a plan.
And Harry and Eddie take the bike, which Top Dog just should have insisted he get his bike back, but he's a fool. They take the bike, and on their way back to town, Harry decided that Eddie was right about hustling those townies. He's just like, I feel bad because I'm an honorable man that we hustled those townies. So let's just stop off at that pool hall where I hustled them, and I'll just return their money. No hard feelings.
Yeah.
Insane logic.
He is immediately accosted by these men. Essentially, we see him say, "Why? Like, let me return their money." Hard cut. They've got Harry beaten up. They're holding him down on a pool table. They're stealing all of his money now. And then they force him to drink a bottle of booze so he gets as drunk as he pretended to be.
Insanely hard cut. From, like, this character is reformed. His hustler days are behind him. This is going to be, like, maybe rallying the troops. Where, like, I was thinking that, I didn't know that it would go, like, too smoothly, but maybe they kind of, like, cruise into town for, like, the main event with him. Just kind of like supporting him.
Right, he's gathering a fan base everywhere he goes.
Like he's gathering kind of a troop, and then just the hardest cut to a metal funnel wedged in Harry's mouth and a full bottle of booze being
But guys,
poured into it.
this is a hard world. I think we've established there's kids that are shooting spitballs at you. This is a hard world you don't want to live in.
That's wild.
And, like, the implication that this is going to affect Harry's sobriety in some way is just immediately waved off. Like, he's very drunk in the next scene where they go and spend another night at Eddie's mom's house for some reason. But the next morning, he's just sober again. He's just like, well, back on the wagon.
It's funny because you think it's going to set up something because they come drunk to her house and she's like, not again, Harry. And he's like, no, it's not like that. I was forced to drink. And she's like, all right. Anyway, you're like, well, what's the point of any of it?
Extremely quick turn of events where, yeah, she's like, not again. And I'm thinking, like, okay, Harry and Eddie are going to have to sleep out under a bridge. Like that. She's not doing it again. She has her axolotls aquarium to take care of. But then, yeah, all she needed to hear was, this time is different. She's like, well, if this time's different, we got to take care of him.
Yeah.
Really, the only reason they seem to go back is for the sole purpose of, in the morning, Harry won't let Eddie come to the next game because they have no money now. And he drives away. And then Eddie's just like, I guess I'll just walk to town so I can arrive halfway through the climax. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I needed a map as to where these places are located because, yeah, Kevin was so adamant about them having to take wheels into town because they were so far away. We're taking trains, bikes, and then, yeah, it's like, I can't play with you and I can't play without you. Like, I wish I could quit you, Eddie. And then he hops on his hog and he flies into town. And then, yeah, Eddie just, like, casually walks in.
I just like it because he walks off. His mom's just like, don't go. He's like, I'm going. She's like, okay.
Best I can do.
She's like, oh, it's fine. It's going to take me all day to light these candles anyway.
Back in the city, though, Top Dog gets there first, and he confronts his agent about robbing Harry that night and how dishonorable it is. And the agent admits to it freely because he's become a sniveling wiener, and then returns the $2,000 worth of pill currency that he stole, and he gives it to Harry. He's like, he gives it to Top Dog. He's like, here's all the money I stole from Harry, Top Dog. I'll give it back to you now. And then Top Dog's like, you're so dishonorable. After this next game, because I still need an agent, you have to work for me. But after that, you're fired. After this next game, we're not working together anymore.
You're finished in this town.
You're finished. Top Dog's agent, he's so worried. He's just like, uh-oh, I just lost my meal ticket. I better go talk to the owner of the bar and place a $2,000 bet on Harry so that no matter who wins, I net $0?
Yeah, he hedged himself, but it was so complicated.
But also, the viewer doesn't care about how much money this character's winning or losing. So it's like, oh, hey, this auxiliary character we've seen in 2 scenes, I wonder how much money he's making on it. It's like, no one cares.
No.
Well, it's kind of because at this point, they're like gear shifting him into be the big bad guy for some reason very late in the movie.
Yeah, as soon as night falls on this, like, final showdown night is when all logic and my understanding of what was happening flew out the window.
Absolutely. Harry gets back to town, but he has no money now, so he's just like, whatever, there's no game to play. I'm going to go drink at my buddy's bar. Well, he's not going to drink. He's sober again for some reason. You'd think he'd be drinking again. Yes. That would be better, but he's not. Top Dog shows up, and he's just like, he's going to go tell Harry. He's like, Harry, or this is the sense we get. He doesn't do this. He's going to go in there, it seems like, and return Harry's money so they can finally play this game. And when he gets in there and he sees Harry, he's got his hands holding the money, and he sees Harry, and Top Dog's like, you know what, I really can't. I am going to steal this money after all. And he's just like, does not tell Top Dog. Top Dog does not tell Harry he has his money. He just opts to continue to steal it.
Yeah, every time that I thought that this movie was turning right, it took a hard left. It was like, okay, I figured out the sort of the conceit here. Top Dog is, yeah, he's turning against his supposedly arch villain ways. He knew that Harry was wronged, and he's going to do the honorable thing and kind of like pay for his way back into the match that we're all going to enjoy. And then sees him in the bar and has like a laughing fit. He's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And
he's just like, he looks at his buddy. He's like, you know what? I'd rather not. I'd rather keep this.
Yeah. Like, rather not what? They don't know what he's talking about. Just like, you can't do what, dude?
But for whatever reason, because we still need a pool game for this movie to end, Top Dog suggests, hey, since you don't have any money, why don't we just play for Knuckles? And Harry's like, fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
I had a drink last night. My life's worth nothing now.
Well,
Why
it's funny
not?
because that's why that scene's there, because they go, well, he has his money back, and if he gives him his money back, then they'll play a normal game. But it's like, you didn't need any of this. You could have just said, the game's for Knuckles. Done. That's what it is. We don't need to worry about all this other nonsense.
We have to know where every dollar moves
Yeah, I
to,
know.
whose pocket's in, where it ends up next.
It's a complicated pill economy that needs to be accounted for.
And since they're playing for Knuckles, Top Dog no longer needs an agent, so he just immediately fires his agent. And now this is to set up the stakes so the agent has bet $2,000 on Harry, so he's got actually some stake in the game. So we're kind of constantly throughout this game cut back to the agent being like, oh no, I need Harry to win or I'm going to lose $2,000.
I'm not sure the exact order of events because everything gets pretty chopped up at this point. But there's a very extended scene of Top Dog shaving.
yeah. It's at least, they go back to at least 3 times. He really shaves.
It's like day to night progression. Where like he's like, okay, gotta get started. Big match tonight. And then he's like, he cuts. Yeah, that's when he cuts the agent to get the pills back. Mm-hmm. He's still shaving. And then I think that there's the whole resolution in the bar. And then he's somehow back, and then there's like a big chain in the middle that seemingly flushes the entire room.
Yes.
Like he like finishes shaving, and then just pulls the chain and leaves.
Well, you do see that a couple times. There's like this Flashdance-esque sort of chain that anyone can pull at some time if you just need to be cooled down. And I don't know which pool matches, if it's this one or it's earlier, where the guy's like, I'm so hot, and he just pulls the chain, he just gets doused with water.
So that was Kevin in the 6-man pool scene.
Right. Classic Kevin.
And that led me down a wild like tangent of the value of water in this post-apocalyptic community. Like, they have no clothes or anything, but if he gets tired doing a pool match, there's seemingly chains everywhere to cool yourself off if you need just a breather.
I also noted that too. I'm like, usually in these type of movies, water is a hot commodity,
Correct.
but I was just like, apparently not this post-apocalyptic world.
No.
At any rate, it's now time for the final pool showdown. They're going to play on the knuckle table, and it's going to be intense.
They have not built to it at all. They've talked about it, but all this other stuff and all these other non-adventures have just undercut any sort of tension that you might have for this game. Because you're just like, all right, let's just play this stupid pool game now. I don't even know who I'm rooting for.
Zero tension. And I'm not sure, I do believe it's before the start of the match, but there's like this weird separate scene where an unknown person is like picking a lock and gets into like a storage room.
I have a note on that. I was going to get into it later.
Okay,
but
I
let's
didn't
talk
know.
about
I didn't
that
know the
now.
order, so that's my fault.
It doesn't matter. We'll
Okay,
talk about it now.
okay.
Yes, as this pool game is starting to get going, and we're seeing like the players show up, and like the entire town's there, like the entire city they live in.
It's a big match.
Yeah.
Has showed up. It's Saturday. It's 8 p.m. It's finally happening. Top Dog v. Harry. But we get a quick cutaway to underneath the bleachers they've set up. Those street urchins who are always spitballing Harry are hiding under there, and they crawl out from underneath the bleachers, break into the, I guess it's the locker room, but it's like it's essentially the safe of the pool hall, the pool owner's safe, which is full of mostly just random goods. And they proceed to pull a heist where they steal the pool owner's every valuable item the pool owner has under lock and key. And it won't be till long after the pool game's over that Top Dog's agent will point out to the pool owners like, hey, didn't you have stuff in there before? And the pool agent's just like, my stuff! But somewhere in the background of this movie, those street urchins were planning a very complicated Ocean's 11 heist around this that we never got to see. It just happens in the last few minutes as you get two cutaways to street urchins robbing this place, apropos to nothing, and we never understand what happens to those street urchins afterward.
Yeah, because when that lock's getting picked, Eddie has not strolled into town yet. So at this point, I'm thinking, wow, Eddie, what are you up to? 'Cause it's just disembodied hands with like a paperclip cutting or breaking into the lock. And I'm like, wow, this is about to get extreme and just never explained.
You thought Eddie had a great plan where he was going to rob this place, but it turns out it was someone else entirely with their own agenda.
It was a different
unrelated
movie.
to anything.
But you know
we've
what I
seen.
mean? That might have been like a fun, weird twist. Maybe it wouldn't entirely work, but Harry finally plays and he throws the match for some reason. And so, I don't know, he doesn't get beaten up or something, and Top Dog thinks he's win, but then when they go for the money, Eddie has stolen it and they win. It could have been something like that, but it's just like, it'd be weirder. Remember those kids we saw randomly? Anyways, they took all the money. They win. Who are they? Don't matter.
Yeah, that's 100% what I thought was going to happen, where, like, I didn't expect Harry to be winning this match at all, but it would be one of those things where, like,
He does win.
lose the battle to win the war. Yeah, where he's like, okay, you
Yeah.
can take the bike. And like, we could buy 10 bikes. Look at all these bills.
Well, the pool game, when it does start, they put the one very large black domino monolith in the center of the table, which is what they have to play around, or if you knock it over, you lose a finger. Top Dog ends up taking an early lead in this. He seems to be winning from what I can tell from the random cuts of this movie. And it's at around this point where Harry doesn't seem to have the energy to win that Eddie finally finishes his walk from his mom's house to the pool hall. And upon seeing the kid, this seems to cause some sort of moral panic or something inside of Harry, because he envisions his next shot, and we get this quick flash of the pool ball knocking over the domino, and he's just like, and I guess what we're supposed to get at is Harry's worried he's going to knock over that domino. And so he looks at the kid, and then he turns to the bar owner and says, he basically clarifies a rule. He's just that we've never heard. This rule we don't know anything about, never been said before. He's just like, hey, bar owner, the domino, or no, I believe he calls it the pin. The pin lies where it falls, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
He tries to go like Braveheart with it, where it's like,
Yeah.
does anyone disagree with these rules? And just silent. He's like, yeah, sure, man. We've seen this before.
The bar owner's like, yeah, that's the typical rule. It's fine. So Harry lines up his cue ball, and he just smashes that black domino far off the table. He just hits it so it flies off the table, and I guess is now out of the game.
This is where the jump should have come in. So I didn't want to ruin it, but this is where he should have jumped the cue ball, where it's some
Yeah.
oh, he'll never make this shot. Top Dog's got it. And then just over the monolith. But
Sinks the ball. What
again,
a hero.
where I think it's going right, this goes way left.
But this is an interesting point, because I don't know narratively what he was doing. Because you're right, Lou. He just goes like, so by the way, if I hit this thing, I basically am going to lose my finger, right? And they're like, yep. And he's like, all right. And then he shoots right into it. But I don't know what sort of martyrdom he was doing and for what purpose.
I'll try to explain it to you.
Please.
I mean, he's knocking it off the table so that they can just play with a free table now. So the finger cutting will be taken out off the table once he loses his finger, because the pin's off the table, so there's no more worry about it.
Yeah, but right after this, he's going to get his finger taken off.
He's sacrificing a finger to remove that from play.
But the worst possible outcome of having the pin on the
Yeah.
table was that he loses his finger. Is he doing
Yes.
it like in martyr style that he doesn't want Top Dog to lose his finger?
Yes, and that's exactly it. Is he's seeing Eddie, and he's just like, I need to teach Eddie a lesson because I realize me playing pool is no good. Because basically everything he does from this point on is to teach Eddie a lesson. He knocks the pool thing off so they don't have to worry about playing it, worrying about fingers, but he still has to lose his pinky before he can keep playing. So Harry chops off his pinky, and now that he's chopped off his pinky and that pin is out of the way, he has nothing left to worry about. So he's now very good at pool. He proceeds to clear the table. He just starts sinking every shot. Harry's smashing everything in despite losing his finger. And on the final shot where he's going to sink the 8-ball and clearly win, he's clearly the better player than Top Dog, he purposefully sinks the 8-ball, but then also scratches the cue ball, ensuring that he loses the game.
Just wild. And he calls it as if it's supposed to be a hasta la vista moment. Where he's just white ball off the 8-ball or whatever the character is used on that ball in this world. And it's dude, nah, why did you blew it?
He didn't need to. He then proceeds to snap his pool cue in half And all of this to me was like he needed to show Eddie that pool was an evil sport. That's the only thing I can figure out. So he lost in the most spectacular way while still winning, but like losing the game overall. And it was some sort of lesson to Eddie.
But what I like, though, is the audience applauds him. They love it. And I'm like, did they also understand the lesson? Because it seems like he did the wrong thing. I didn't understand, but everyone's like, yeah, Harry, you did it. And I was like, he didn't do it.
Yeah, we'll never play pool again in this town. Our ways were so weird and immoral.
You're totally right. The entire audience goes crazy. They're cheering for Harry for losing the game because they all understood it. Top Dog's agent is crying in a corner because he just lost $2,000 because that was the most important part of this game, apparently. And it's so weird. Top Dog's won, but he begrudgingly respects that Harry is probably a better pool player than him. So they, like, say goodbye, except that you assume Harry is going to be like, I can keep the motorcycle, though, right? Like, that's the fair trade because you won all this money. No, Top Dog's like, give me back my motorcycle.
When you're thinking a zig, it zags. It's like, yeah, he's going to be like, toss the keys, like, toss the towel moment, like, keep the change, Harry. It's like, hey, one more thing. You done with my bike?
And with the game concluded, they all sort of head out of the bar. And maybe you guys can explain this one to me, but Top Dog, who just won, got his bike. He heads home to his shack, turns the light, full of goons.
Yeah, there was... I was fully lost at this point. There was like a cut of him like yee-hawing on the motorcycle, but then it seemed to be like removed out of, like, he seemed to go back and forth in time, and then he is trapped. I
think it was supposed to be that he gets beaten up by goons from his old agent. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Okay. But yeah, like Top Dog gets beaten up by a bunch of people for some reason at the end, and then it's basically Don's coming up. He pulls up on his motorcycle as Harry and Eddie are saying goodbye to all their pals at the bar. And he's just like, his face is all cut up. He's all beat up. And he turns to them. He's like, you guys need a lift out of town? And Harry's like, no. No, thank you.
They're like, no, we'll walk. It's actually quite close. I don't know why we've been taking this bike the whole time anyway.
You know what? When I really think about it, I don't even like that bike.
And then we just see like Harry and Eddie walking off into the sunrise for some reason. It was a baffling series of turns after the climax where I was just like, I don't know what's happening here.
I was shocked. Like, they went for the Breakfast Club sort of like Bender ending, and then, but just on a nondescript hill. Like, well, we gotta finish this somehow.
We gotta walk back to Eddie's mom's house again. And this is sort of where it ends. Like, Top Dog's been run out of town, and I guess re-offered friendship to Harry, who immediately turns it down because he's out of the game. No more pool for Harry. He should have torn his earring out. He should have torn that earring out in front of everyone, and just like a bloody spectacle.
Yeah, and that would have made more sense. But
yeah, my best guess, this movie is about Harry becoming a father to Eddie and teaching him about the evils of pool. Set in the post-apocalyptic future.
I mean, that's clear. That's clearly what this movie is. Well, I told you before, the plot of this movie is, what's the synopsis? The synopsis was a love story about a young boy who tries to get a pool player back on the tracks. That's what this was.
A complete success. That young boy did it.
Yeah, it was a complete success. 10 out of 10.
Well, do you guys have any final notes on this movie? Is anything we didn't cover? Anything else you really need to dig into in this?
I think the one quote we mentioned it off top, but not exactly where it fell in the movie, was, are we going to play pool or are we going to piss around?
That is truly the best line of this movie when Top Dog says that.
And I'm going to mention one other thing. When the agents at the very beginning of this movie, they give the rules, and I think, Luke, you said, you have to have $2,000, you must be Caucasian, and you must be male. I assumed this was going to have some sort of result later on in the movie where you were going to have perhaps a woman or something in disguise as a man who cleans up the table and wins or something. Because otherwise, I don't know what this is doing. I guess it's sort of establishing the world that they live in, but it just seemed like, I don't know, it's like they would set things up. You go, oh, that's going to be maybe an interesting idea. And then the writer was like, nah, let's do something else. What if he just had a chihuahua in his pocket?
To be honest, I think that may have just established the actors they had on hand.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
Just so you know, no one other than white males can enter this movie by rules.
I was going to say the same thing because I was just thinking about it too. I'm just like, other than Eddie's mom, I don't think there's anyone who is not a white male in this entire film.
Nah.
Wouldn't it have been great, though, at the end of the movie, after all of this, like a Mission Impossible styles, Harry pulls off his mask and he's black, and you're like, oh, this was about race?
Oh wow, that's the love story. Yeah, if I look through my notes here, I think there's only two things that I wanted to mention. One is that there's some point, I'm not sure exactly where in the timeline, where Harry mentions that Max the bartender is really good with strays. It's like random young boys. And that was very strange to me. 'Cause just the delivery was like, oh yeah, Max, he's good with strays.
I do remember that being very strange.
What the hell are you suggesting about Max the bartender? And then I guess the only time we see Top Dog actually play is in the final match. And there's a point in which he's using the rake, where when you have a really long shot in pool, like you can pull out the rake. And the any time that I've ever seen that really like used in real life, the player is ridiculed mercilessly. It's just like, oh, he's using the rake. And I was just shocked. Where I'm like, this is some pool world where people's fingers are he should be getting the finger chopped off for using the rake.
I thought the same thing when he pulled that rake out to like do the long shot. I'm just like, there's no way you're allowed in a fingers game for that kind of assistance. We're all here for blood. You can't just take the easy way out.
It's like, oh, guys, this is a pretty tough shot.
I can't remember. I used it in my opening too, but at some point they keep saying he flunked it, and I can't remember why. Like, did someone like miss a ball and they just start using the term flunked a lot abruptly in the middle of this movie? Or did that only stand out to me?
I don't know if I caught flunked.
I was too busy mesmerized by all their hair.
So much hair flipping. There's a really good like slow-mo with Harry. He's trying to aim, but his like dreads are in the way and he has to like...
All right. It sounds like we've covered too much of this movie as it is. Let's get into rating this. Taylor, typically we rate these kind of on the IMDb sort of 10-star scale. So out of 10 stars. And, you know, you can feel free. You don't have to do this critically. You don't have to have a critical eye. You can do it based on like your personal enjoyment as well. Or if you want to compare it to Citizen Kane, you can give it 1 star if you like. But it's your call. Where do you think this falls on a 10-star scale?
Up against my other favorite sci-fi, Citizen Kane, eh? So I definitely, going into it, I was like, okay, this is gonna be a problem. this is gonna be like a 1, because to be honest, I haven't watched something in like 4:3 standard def in years. And I find sometimes IMDb, those ratings can be a little bit stodgy. So I'm not looking at it in like a critical eye, just like pure fun. And I would give it a solid 7. And if I could see it in like HD, if I could really get into this world and like have better clarity on like what exactly is in that storage room that the urchins are raiding, and like what exactly is this pill currency, I'd bump it up to an 8.
Well, we'll tweet at Gary Day later and ask for a 4K restoration.
That was my other question. Will my rating be shared with Gary Day? If so, it's a 10, because I don't want to sewer any future negotiations on Hard Knuckle 2.
Right. Very good. We'll adjust that accordingly. I was up in when it started, I was like all aboard the world this movie was in. When they started just playing pool, I'm like, all right, great, let's do this. It definitely, like, when it turns, they leave town and it just starts a different movie. And then, like you said, it gets to the climax and all bets are off. Like, anything you knew, forget about it. Doesn't matter anymore. So I had a wild ride. I think it lost me in the middle, but brought me back by the end. I'm going to go with this. I think I'm going to go 6.5 on this. It gets a little too dull for me in the middle, but, like, the beginning and the end are wild enough to really pull me along.
I think Kevin's involvement is worth like a negative point.
Yeah, he drags it down.
Yeah.
He drags it down.
I think I'm in a pretty close area with you guys. I'm going to give the first half 5 out of 5 and the second half 1 out of 5. So 6 out of 5 total. 6 out of 10.
man.
6 out of 10 total.
That's good. I thought you were going to average it between those two.
No. Total.
Well, I mean, you know what? I think this is a decent rating for this movie. It certainly was something I was not expecting. I did not see anything coming that came.
I don't think any human could expect what is shown. Impossible.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much for sitting down and watching this. Much appreciated. This was a great talk about it, too. I think we did a good breakdown of this insane film.
It was an absolute pleasure. I like watching something that I never in a million years would have watched otherwise, and it was a fun ride, that's for sure.
I'm glad we could at least catch you off guard with something. But that's going to wrap up the episode. If you have some thoughts on Devil's Pool and the rules that we didn't understand, you can email us at continuumdrag@gmail.com. I know Jordan's dying to talk about Pool with someone.
Oh, yeah, that's all I want to talk about.
And then on Instagram and Twitter, the handle there is @continuumdrag. We're definitely going to have some clips from this show. Probably pretty pool heavy.
I mean, maybe a cream pie in the face, maybe a little spitball here and there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. All the slapstick side, the Three Stooges-esque moments that pop up.
A super cut of the Spitball Kid would be really great.
That is true. That is true. When Harry finally at the end of the movie, Top Dog at finally in the movie, he grabs the kid and breaks his spitball thing.
Can't break his
because
little flute, so he just throws it.
We were waiting. We've been waiting for the end to this climax. At any rate, those you can find on our social media accounts. And that's it. That wraps it up. So, listener, thank you for joining us. And Jordan, I will see you next week.
See you then. Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rex Seidler. Produced by Jordan Dullock and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Hughes.